Hi everyone, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Anna, and you're listening to We Judge a Show by Its Pilot, a podcast hosted by us, a married couple with an endless love for TV.
Whether you're looking for a new show to binge or wanting to revisit an old classic, let us be your guide through the infinite list of TV shows.
So come join us every Friday as we discuss the pilot for a TV show while also sharing personal stories that parallel the storylines.
We Judge a Show by Its Pilot, where your new favorite show is just one click away. Hello everyone, welcome back to our pod.
Hello, how's it going?
I almost wanted to start singing, but it's not musical month anymore.
It's not, and I would like to send my regards to Nick. I did go back and listen to the pod where I started to sing Let It Linger. And, you know, I always do disclaim that I cannot sing.
You almost proudly admit that you can't sing.
Well, I mean, I was told at a very early age that
rough.
I could not sing.
Yeah.
And it semi-destroyed me.
That sucks.
But,
I'm sorry.
But I own it. I know I
do.
cannot sing.
You do.
And
you own it, and I think it's adorable.
And I will also go on record as saying I truly believe people that can sing are just gifts.
Yeah.
I mean, I am in awe of someone who can just sing, and I wish I could be them, but I am not, alas. So
I'm always blown away. I know this. I just said this isn't musical month anymore. We're talking about musical. We're talking about singing, but I actually for this episode, a musical will kind of intertwine with this show that we're doing today because I'm going to talk about my origin story with it. But yeah, I'm always impressed with the people who can just belt out and on command, like they don't have to like prepare for it. Like it's
they're not warming up doing scales or something.
That viral video of Kristen Chenoweth impersonating the car alarm, and she's like perfect pitching it, and she's like hitting those like operatic notes, and she's just doing it, and it's just, or when she impromptu sang the Southern Charm theme song, and she just sounded like. So she's singing the Southern Charm theme song, and she sounds great. And I'm with you. I think it's really impressive when people can just sing and they sound amazing.
Exactly.
Because I mean, I have a okay singing voice. I would say I was never trained. I don't really like singing in front of people. So like, I know I used to have a good singing voice. I couldn't honestly tell you if it's good or not because I only sing when I'm by myself. So
okay, yeah.
Anyway, so we're actually recording this in October because you just kind of finished you're not done with your work travel, but you're done with like the rough part of it.
Yeah.
Of the
2 more short weeks.
Yeah, and so we are recording this on is it Thursday night?
Today's Thursday.
Tonight is a Thursday night. And
this will come out tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's gonna come out tomorrow, and I'm gonna do what the influencers do and record, either edit tonight or tomorrow morning. But anyway,
shout out to Lauren Norris.
Once I found out that she
edits like an hour before.
She's like, up until she has to upload, she's like, I'm editing. I'm like, you know what, Lauren, this is your full-time gig, and I just do this on the side. So I feel totally comfortable doing it now, and I think when you're under the gun editing, you do a better job.
Yeah.
So you pay a little bit more attention to detail because you see the time and you're like, oh, I have like 3 hours. So I mean, this is going to take me 3 hours.
We love you, Lauren. Miss New York 2025.
That's crazy.
We love you.
That's crazy.
All right. And Will. Shout out to Will. And Lemon and
Lemon.
Lem.
Yeah, just some influencers that
I love.
Yeah.
And then I got Jeff hooked on.
Yeah, I mean,
Laura Norris, go to her YouTube page.
It's good stuff.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. All right, so it is October. It is
your B-Day month.
It is my B-Day month, and much like we're gonna do on all of our birthday months, there's gonna be some type of personal theme.
Yes.
So you inspired me with your birthday month when you picked, I mean, like we said earlier in another episode, it was unintentional, but you ended up picking these shows that kind of represented different eras of your life. It was autobiographical. And so I decided to do that for my month, but I added a little twist to it. It's going to be all reality shows.
Yeah.
I love reality TV. I loved it from the moment it entered. I saw it on TV for the first time and it entered my brain. I was fascinated by it. And you feel the same way.
Love it. I loved reality shows.
I mean, that was the first conversation we
ever
really had, and we continue to have that conversation, and we're
All the
still
time.
having that conversation. We started a podcast because we can't stop having these conversations. So today is the beginning of my reality TV journey. So when reality TV first really came out, I was a preteen, and I didn't. So really, for a really long time, all there really was Real World and Road Rules. Real World is the first one.
Well, yes. I'm going to go back a tiny bit more, though.
Okay.
Because before Real World, or maybe around the same time, there was The Truman Show, and then there was the movie with Matthew McConaughey. Was it Ed?
Yeah. Those were later in the 90s, though.
Wait, early in the 90s?
No, that Truman Show was like late 90s.
Well, one of them was early on because
Yeah.
it got panned because they were like, who wants to watch a movie about someone's life?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, reality TV became the norm.
Right.
And so, again, I don't remember the dates. And again, Real World and stuff, they were all kind of coming out at the same time. But I remember those two movies, people were like, oh, man, who would really watch a Truman Show, a person like and just watching their lives? Yeah, we do it every summer with Big Brother.
Right.
You know, so, yeah.
Yeah, that was... So Big Brother hadn't come out yet.
Well, yes.
Yeah, so... and even... Back in the early days of reality TV, we didn't call it reality TV.
Correct. Oh, no.
That's my memory of it, at least. Like, I don't really remember the term reality TV really being a thing until like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
When a lot of shows started coming out.
Oh, all the dating shows.
Right. So the beginning in the 90s,
competition shows.
In the beginning in the 90s, about the closest thing to a reality show that you would get is like a game show.
Yeah.
And I mean I think that's a pretty fair statement. But Real World was the first one, the first official. People have argued that there have been stuff from the 70s and 80s, but those were kind of like documentary specials. They weren't like a series. It was more of just like I remember my mom always referring to something called Real People, and I don't know what that is, or if she was just saying, I mean, my mom would often say, when referring to Real World, she would say Real People. But then she would say that there was something like Real World back in the day, and it was called Real People, but it was like a movie. It wasn't like a series. And it was a different idea. So when my sister started watching The Real World, I was late elementary, early middle school, and I watched it with her, but it wasn't like... It just wasn't like clicking in my head. Like it felt like... As soon as like the documentary style kind of was shown to me, I was like, oh, this is boring. I was like, I think that's just where my brain, because I was really young. I was just like,
that's true.
I was probably when my sister really started watching Real World, I was probably like in 4th grade. So all of it was like just really going over my head. And I didn't really get it, although I watched it with her. I didn't really get into Real World until the Hawaii season.
I was tech.
Yes, I was in, and then right after that was the New Orleans season. So it was close to home. So of course we all watched that one. But when it was the summer of 1998, and I was getting ready for an audition for Oliver, and I don't know why Disney Channel was on. In the living room, because that's a really weird channel to have on in the living room. But Bug Juice was on, and that's the show that we're doing today. And it was basically, we'll get into the specifics of it, but this was my first reality show. I mean, I could technically say Real World and Road Rules were, but those felt like my sister's shows, and I hadn't personally gotten into them yet.
And they were like post-college age,
right?
So they weren't, in a sense, relatable to you at the time,
right?
Yeah,
not until I became a teenager.
Yeah.
But
and just real quick, it was Ed TV that was Matthew McConaughey, and it was 99, so it was like on that cusp of Survivor, Big Brother, all of those. But yeah. Ed was Matt LeBlanc, about a baseball player.
That's
Adam Cross. 2 Matts, 2 Eds.
You're good.
I'm good. But anyway, so this is your first.
This is my first real reality show, and I will get into a little bit more specifics about it in a minute. But before we do all that, Anna's going to give us some episode and series information.
All right. Bug Juice. I'm going to kill this. Camp Waziyatah.
Nailed it.
Bug Juice was an American reality show for kids that aired on the Disney Channel from February 28th, 1998 to October 15th, 2001 for 3 seasons and a total of 60 episodes. The series was created by Douglas Ross and J. Rupert Thompson. In the late 90s, reality TV was still new and networks were trying to tap into the market. The Disney Channel wanted in but couldn't decide on what their show would be. The Real World was the prototype, a group of strangers from different walks of life living and working together. So Ross and Thompson realized that the kid version of The Real World was to follow a group of kids at summer camp. The term bug juice comes from a sticky red punch that is often served at summer camp. I wanted to joke that it's like a precursor to jungle juice at college.
Yeah.
But, you know.
They were getting us ready for it.
Oh, yeah, the big sugary sweet. Casting for Bug Juice was unique in that no one submitted audition tapes or were recruited by casting, which is how most reality shows are cast. Instead, they conducted hundreds of phone interviews and eventual home interviews for kids that were already enrolled at camp, and then casting chose which kids they thought would make the best TV. Producers promised the parents that they wouldn't edit things to change the narrative, lies, and they would show things as they are to get more authentic feel, lies. In addition for being put on TV, production paid for every cast member's camp tuition. That's an interesting take because they were, in a sense, sort of paid. I mean, not like official income, but I mean, yeah, I don't know if like Real World people got stipends for living in the house.
And I did read that if the kid decided to leave camp and go home early, that they would give the parents like the partial refund.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Each season of Bug Juice took place at a different camp in a different region of the United States. Season 1 takes place at Camp Waziyatah in Waterford, Maine. Season 2 took place at Camp Highlander in Horseshoe, North Carolina, and Season 3 took place at Brush Ranch Camp in Torero, New Mexico. In 2018, it was revealed that Bug Juice was going to have a revival 20 years after Season 1 premiered. The revival returned to Camp Waziyatah, but instead of focusing on campers ages 12 to 15, the revival focused on younger campers ages 10 to 12, most likely due to Disney Channel no longer trying to appeal to preteens or young teens. Season 1 of Bug Juice was split into 2 4-week sessions. Some campers only stayed for 4 weeks, while others stayed for 8. Grove 4, the boys' cabin, consisted of 2 counselors and 9 boys, ranging in age from 12 to 15. Hill 4, the girls' cabin, also consisted of 2 counselors and 9 girls, ranging from ages 13 to 15. And we can't forget Hill 4's dog, Geffen.
Really cute.
Cutie.
I'm sure the dog isn't alive, but we can honor. You know what? This episode is dedicated to Geffen.
Dedicated to the puppy. Bug Juice had the privilege of existing before social media and true parasocial fans, so there is little known about the behind-the-scenes tea of the show. A few former cast members have come out and talked about their experience, and when clips of Bug Juice became viral on TikTok during the pandemic, interest in the show increased. Season 3's Eve did an interview with Vice News to discuss her experience after being kicked out of camp for things she allegedly did not do. She didn't blame production, but the camp owners, who were very conservative, didn't like Eve's non-conforming persona. Everett from Season 1 talked about his experience during the 20th anniversary of the show's premiere. He mentioned that the boys were edited to look more cohesive, despite that not being the entire truth, while the girls were edited to look much more divided than they actually were. Several former cast members have said that after all these years, they still occasionally get recognized. The entire series is available.
Was.
The entire series was available on YouTube, but all videos were taken down by Disney when Disney Plus was first announced. Fans were excited at the possibility of Bug Juice being available on Disney Plus, but were disappointed when it never happened. If you really want to watch Bug Juice, you can buy the entire series on DVD or download them through dvdtreasures.org, and the price is currently $30 for all 3 seasons. This is like one of the only shows that we've ever had that wasn't really anywhere.
Yeah. I was very tempted to not do it because, like you said, our show always, the show that we do is always available somewhere, even if you have to like buy it on Prime Video or wherever. But it was on YouTube since the beginning of YouTube. I mean, like for a really, really long time. And then, it was like probably like 17 or 18, whenever Disney Plus first kind of announced that they were going to be, launching. And then they were all taken down. Some people tried to put them back up, but Disney Plus, they got tight security. So
I'm sure they hit the copyright issues on YouTube scan.
Okay, so I kind of talked a little bit beginning of what got me into the show. I was getting ready for the Oliver audition, and it was on, and it was the first episode, and it was the part where, I'm going to talk about it in the episode summary, when Geffen was underneath Sarah's bed, and Sarah was freaking out because she's scared of dogs.
Yes.
Me and Shelly were laughing really hard at that because, we're a dog-loving family, and the idea of someone being scared of a sweet dog is just really funny to us. I immediately went to my room, and we just had blank VHSs just lying around, thanks to my dad.
I was going to say, everyone did.
And I remember popping it in my VCR, and I hit record, and I was like, I want to watch this show. So I recorded it while I was gone. I came back. I think they were playing a marathon, because this would have been a few months after it premiered. So this was still an era where, like, still kind of exists today, but, like, if you didn't know of the show, like, if you didn't see, like, a preview for it or no one told you about it, it didn't exist to you. I mean, like, you really didn't.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of how it still is today, just because there's so much. But back then, it was just a lack of marketing and just a lack of, obviously we didn't have smartphones. We didn't have internet. We had dial-up, and it was still very, very new back then. So, like...
But that wasn't what the internet was about early on in the late 90s?
Internet was chat rooms, instant messaging, and emails.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I remember the internet being, and basically until I was a teenager. Until I was, like, almost out of high school.
And so unless you were like reading the newspaper, like the back of USA Today, or your family got TV Guide, or saved the TV Guide from the Sunday paper, which Shelley and Lloyd might have done.
We did.
We did. That usually wasn't like you weren't scanning it to go, what's new this week?
Right.
You were just already looking to see what time it was coming on again. So
and I didn't, but still at this point, reality TV, it was not called reality TV.
No.
I think it was just called a docuseries. And I just remember that was the moment where in my head I was like, oh, I could be on reality TV. That's not what we called it, but that was finally in my mind. I was like, oh, these are just regular people. I was like, that was when it finally, like, something clicked in my brain where I was just like, Real World, Road Rules. At this point, maybe the challenge was like very, very new, but reality TV was still so new. But in my mind, I wasn't thinking, when I was watching Real World with my sister, nothing was clicking in my head that I was like, oh, these are just regular people. In my mind, I was like, oh, they're actors, or they want to be actors.
I could see how something on Disney would make you think that, for sure.
And so when I watched Bug Juice, I was just like, oh, these are just normal kids. I was just like, oh, these are just normal people. Like, you can just be on TV now. And it was just, that was the idea of that was like, oh, that's really interesting. I was just like, and that is the beginning of me being obsessed with reality TV, where I started watching Real World that summer with my sister, and I was like, I get it now. I was just like, I get it. I don't know what year, that may have been Seattle, that Real World season.
Seattle
98.
Yes, Seattle was 98, 99.
Yeah,
because I was in New Orleans that year and then moved to Seattle,
right.
And New Orleans was the next year after I had just left. I remember, like,
because it was Seattle, Hawaii, then New Orleans.
Yeah.
And so I remember watching Seattle and it clicking, and then watching Hawaii and being like, I'm in. I was just like, I love this show. I watched it even during those last few seasons when the show really jumped the shark and really lost its quality. Still hung on. I still watched it. But yeah, so that's kind of, I mean, it was also I was 13. All these kids are 13, 14, 15 years old. It was super relatable. I was going through like my first crushes and first time I was like went away from home and stuff like that. I was like, oh, this is something that I can really relate to. Although this was the type of show that like I didn't tell people I watched. I mean, like this was before it was cool to like the Disney Channel as a teenager. It was before like all those like Even Stevens and That's So Raven and all these like teen focused shows came on Disney Channel, so I kind of had to pretend like I didn't watch it, but because I was an insecure 13-year-old. But then once I found out that like everyone else my age, well not everyone, but so many other people my age were like, yeah, I watch it too. I'm like, oh okay, it's just like it's meant for us. So yeah, that's a little origin story with my reality TV. I did not think that I was going to be 40, almost 41 years old and still obsessed with reality TV, but hey, that's the way it goes. And Big Brother just ended and we got Amazing Race right now, and the challenge is going on. I've kind of fallen off the challenge, but eventually I'll jump back on it. But yeah, that's that.
Yep.
What you looking at?
I'm looking up the first year of Real World was 92, so that's what I was thinking. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the plot summary, and while we're doing that, we got questions. We're going to talk about what we thought of it after the summary. We're going to talk about some other stuff. All right, Bug Juice plot summary. We see an overhead shot of the beautiful scenery of Camp Waziyatah in the middle of rural Maine. I forgot the name of the city, even though I was typing it, so I typed in rural Maine. I was like, it's literally 2 pages before
Waterford?
you, Jeff. Waterford, Maine.
Yeah.
The boys' counselors, Red and Morgan, and the girls' counselors, Luna and Annie, prepare for the campers to arrive. Red and Luna are very experienced counselors, particularly Luna, who's been going to camp since she was 7 and a counselor when she was 14, assuming she's in her early mid-20s at this point. So a solid decade of being a counselor. All right. You don't have to give me top 3, top 5, just however many you want. Favorite summer camp movies. Go.
Meatballs.
Oh, well, yeah.
The OG Parent Trap, Haley Mills.
That's the only Parent Trap although I have to respect Elaine Hendricks and Meredith Blake, Dancing with the Stars, but the original is just the best.
Oh, well, the original is it, but I do have a deep affection for the Lindsay Lohan, Natasha Richardson, Dennis Quaid
R.
version, RP, and Lisa Ann Walter. Chezzy.
The remake's great.
Yeah,
the remake's great
because that was Patrick's Parent Trap,
right?
And I used to annoy the hell out of him because I always wanted to watch it to annoy the hell out of him, and I would always. Here you go, Nick. I would always start singing, L is for the way you look
at the beginning,
at me.
The opening credits,
Yes. And so he would be like, stop it, please. So I'm an OG Parent Trap with a deep, deep affection for...
You should call him right now and start singing that.
I will. I'm going to have to tell him to listen to this. And then I will probably say... to go horror, Friday the 13th.
I mean, nothing gets more classic than that.
Yeah, that's summer camp, nightmare. So there
you have some more movies, though.
You said top 3.
I didn't say it doesn't have to be top 3 or top 5. Just name some movies.
Okay, then I also have, of course, Little Darlings.
We literally just watched that, too. Such a good movie.
I also have, you introduced me to Wet Hot American Summer.
One of my favorite comedies of all time.
Great Outdoors, Two
Classic.
Legends, John Candy, Macaulay Culkin.
No, Dan Aykroyd. You're thinking of Uncle Buck.
What am I thinking? Cut that. I got him mixed up, but yes, Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah,
okay,
Annette Bening.
He wasn't in that. John Candy wasn't in Great Outdoors.
John Candy and Dan Aykroyd. You said John Candy and Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, duh. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I could have sworn John Candy was
Anna's drunk, y'all.
I'm wasted. I've been having the bug juice. And then that was all I really had for my list. You had some other good ones as well.
Yeah, so I have one of my favorite, not just my favorite summer camp movie, one of my favorite horror comedies of all time, and also just one of my favorite movies, The Final Girls.
Of course.
Filmed here in Baton Rouge, which is awesome. One of the best casts, including Angela Trimber, who was on Road Rules and The Challenge.
Yes.
Always love seeing her and stuff. Anytime I see anyone from The Challenge or Real Order Road Rules in something, I'm like, I know them. I don't know them personally, but I know who that is. There is, and this was one that I always kind of forget about, but I love Addams Family Values, and it's when Wednesday and Pugsley go to camp, and it's so I'm not a huge fan of the first Addams Family movie. I liked it, but like when the second one came out, I'm like, oh, this is hilarious. Like I love that show. That movie. All right, so there's Camp Nowhere, which is one of my favorite movies as a kid. That's the one with Andrew Keegan and Jonathan Jackson and Christopher Lloyd.
Nice.
Peter Scolari is also in it. And the guy that plays Biff in Back to the Future movies, I forgot his name, Tom Wilson. And I have another movie that is a little not as known, but it's called You Might Be the Killer. It has Allison Hannigan in it, and it was filmed in Lafayette.
Nice.
So that's another horror comedy that set at a summer camp. And then I just watched this movie very, very recently. It's a movie called Marshmallow, and it is set at a summer camp. You were kind of watching it. It was the one with the cousin from Ted, from Blair. She was the counselor.
Oh, yeah.
It ended up being like not a typical slasher. It ended up being like having like a really good twist to it. And I actually really liked it. I wish I would have bought it. I just rented it because I just wanted to watch it. And I had Amazon credit, so that's usually when I waste money on on renting and buying movies. And then I have my last one is a movie called Happy Campers. It's a movie from the early 2000s, and it has Brad Renfro, Dominique Swain, which is a real pull, Peter Stormare. It's like one of Justin Long's first movies.
Wow.
Jamie King is in it. Jordan Bridges is in it. It's like it is... And it's a very dark comedy. They're all camp counselors, and it's very, very dark comedy. Same guy that wrote Heathers, so it's a fantastic movie. If you've never seen it, we should watch it sometime.
All right.
Great movie. All right, so those are mine. There are so many others. I saw the list, and I was just like, you said Little Darlings and Meat, but you said a lot of ones that I love, so I was like, let me add some more.
Yeah.
But yeah, your list was Little Darlings. I love that movie. We just watched it like a few weeks ago.
We totally did.
Still holds up, and a movie that was really ahead of its time, I must say. All right, we travel to Westport, Connecticut, to Everett's house as he packs up for camp while his mother helps him. Everett, 13, and his best friend Connor, 14, are attending camp together, and this is their first year at camp. In Washington, D.C., 14-year-old Keisha is on her way to the airport. It's also her first year at Camp Waziyatah. Keisha says wherever she goes, she makes friends because it's not about where you're from. It's about being genuine and being respectful towards others. That was when you said, go Keisha, when she said that. Also at the same airport, 13-year-olds John and Andy from the D.C. suburbs are on their way to camp as well. John and Andy are best friends and have gone to Wazi before. Many of the campers fly to Boston, and the camp buses drive them to Wazi. I forget how condensed New England is.
Oh,
yeah.
You can drive across like 3 states in like a day.
When I looked on a map, for some reason, I always think that Massachusetts is like below New York, but I'm like, that's Jersey is below New York, Jeff. So I'm just like always like, I get really mixed up in my New England geography. Lauren, 13, from Newton, Massachusetts, says goodbye to her parents. Lauren is a seasoned camper and explains that she never gets homesick. 13-year-old Megan from Manhattan and 14-year-old Martha from Riverside, Connecticut. They're both first-year campers and seem to be quite nervous, but are relieved when they sit next to each other on the bus and realize they'll be in the same cabin.
Aww.
15-year-old Jason from New York City is also on the bus, along with 14-year-old Hassan from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. They are also seasoned campers and are excited to get to camp. 13-year-old Malik from Brooklyn is a first-year camper, and you can see him unable to sit still due to him being so nervous. Yeah, so I was one, I never got homesick. I wasn't one to get homesick. I know that sometimes I would spend the night at friends' houses, and there were times where I didn't feel comfortable, and that was when I just wanted to go home. But I don't feel like that was me being homesick. I think that was just me, like, just feeling uncomfortable. So, I mean, like, it didn't happen that often. I think it only happened maybe, like, twice as a kid. But do you remember the first time you were away from home? It could be your first weekend, like, weekend-long sleepover, or literally being away from home in another state without your parents. Like, do you remember the first time that ever happened?
Yes.
Okay.
So I played academic games. It's like a series of games in like elementary school, junior high, even high school. I think they still have it. It's like Mr. President, equations, linguistics.
It's like Quiz Bowl.
Yeah, no, but it's actually kind of like board games and trivia.
Oh.
It is partially.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was, and I was actually really good at it.
Of course
and
you were.
I won for Mr. President, and so I got to go and compete nationally in the National Academic Games in Eatonton, Georgia.
Classic.
And so, like, a bunch of people were dropped off at like the parking lot of the Lakeside Shopping Mall.
Yeah.
And a big freaking Trailways bus came to pick us up. And there were several other kids from my school that also had placed in their games that they participated in. And we were brought to a camp in Eatonton, Georgia for a week. And we played games, and you would win trophies. And our trophy was a thinker, the thinker, the Rodin thinker. And so I just remember I wanted one of those like so bad.
Yeah.
And so that was a week away. There were like no parents. I mean, there might have been obviously the teachers and the people running the competition, but they were not staying with us. I mean, there was no real adult or even a more seasoned teen in our cabin. And I remember coming back because I was like in 5th grade. I went in 5th and 6th grade. And so Rebecca was probably like a junior the first year I went, and then a senior the second year I went.
Okay.
And I remember coming back on the last night. Each year, there was like a massive girls against boys water fight.
Nice.
I don't know where we got the water from, like our sinks in the bathroom or the showers, and we would fill cups and buckets and whatever we could find that would hold water, and we would go and have a massive water fight. Well, I think it might have been the 6th grade year that the boys who were returning, I will give them a little credit, really plotted out and brought things to hold water.
Okay.
Like the boys had brought like either water balloons or also like pitchers or something in their suitcase or duffel bags to also hold water. They snuck into our cabins like while we went out to go and attack them. They had like a little other back group of boys. They came in and destroyed our room with water. And I remember coming back, and I don't know if Rebecca remembers this, when we got back, because we drove overnight to come home. And I really, honest to God, it was really funny because I don't remember like even getting on the bus, or much less my mom picking me up at the parking lot of the Lakeside Mall in Metairie. And I think Rebecca came with her. And when they got home and put me to bed, because mind you, I was like 11.
Yeah.
And they put me to bed. And all I remember was Rebecca waking up the next morning and going, "Why is everything in your suitcase wet?" Like mom was just pulling stuff out and everything in the suitcase was wet. And and honest to God, like, I don't remember even what I came home in. Maybe I had stored some clothes somewhere, but literally everything in my suitcase was wet. It was just soaking wet.
That's funny.
And so that was my first time. And my mom did not bat an eye. I will just say, if it had anything to do with school and was school sponsored, my mom was always like, it might make you a better student.
Yeah.
It might bring you some recognition. Like, you won this competition, go and do it. She was always very supportive of stuff like that. Now, going to summer camp and paying for it, my parents could have never afforded like me to go up to like the Catskills or to Maine or something. You know, I actually did have friends that went to camps.
So did I.
And I don't know if I really knew that that's where they were going. I just maybe always thought that they were going on summer vacation and were just gone, like,
for a really long time.
Well, we did, because you know, my dad was always home in the summer, and we would go on like a month-long vacation.
True. Yeah.
But I would learn later that they had always been at camp.
Oh, okay.
And like, I know here in Louisiana, I think it's just a week long. It's not like a big summer long, but they have the famous Camp Hartner, which is the Episcopal camp in like central Louisiana. Yep. And so I met people at college that had gone to Camp Hartner with people that I knew from New Orleans. And they were like, oh, you were from New Orleans. Do you know so-and-so? In typical New Orleans way. And I was like, actually, yeah. And they were like, I went to Camp Hartner with them. And I was like, what the hell's Camp Hartner? Yeah. And then that's how I kind of learned about the New Orleans. I mean, that Louisiana had a camp here. And I think there are others, but that's like sort of the famous one here in Louisiana that I know of.
I wonder if that's the one that I went to. Because I went there. It was in Jackson, Louisiana. I still, to this day, don't exactly know where Jackson, Louisiana is. But
now I need to look.
It's somewhere. It's somewhere. Yeah. So the.
I hope so.
It's at a location. Yeah. So the first time I was really away from outside of like sleeping over at someone's house, I did. I mean, I think church camp is the easiest way to sum up what it is. It was I think it was a week long, and I don't think it was longer than a week, but it was at a week long. It was people from my church and then kids from other churches, Baptist churches, I'm assuming, from Louisiana. I would know some of them from different churches because when I lived in Central, we went to a Baptist church in Baton Rouge, but the Baptist church in Central also went to this camp. So I knew a lot of the kids I went to school with. And maybe this was before I went to Parkview, but yeah, so it was a week long and we basically just did normal camp stuff. I remember doing like arts and crafts. I remember like riding a horse. I remember doing like sports and stuff, doing like skits for like talent shows and stuff. But I remember a little bit later, when I was in middle school, I did another church camp type thing, and we went to a camp in Central Florida, I think outside of Orlando, and that was the first time I was introduced to Color War. That was the first time I was introduced to like more traditional camp things. Even though it was through the church, we still did we still did, you know, we would kind of section off into teams, and we would
and tribes.
We would come up with our own team name, and we would have our team color, and we would do scavenger hunt. We would do kickball. We would do the baseball throw, like the thing that you would do in the Olympics, but you're doing it with a baseball. Yeah. Like we would do stuff like that.
Or like it was shot put, but with a baseball.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. I always wanted to go to traditional camp. I always wanted to, but much like you, my parents just were not going to pay for that because camp, even back in the 90s, was super expensive. I don't even want to know. I kind of want to know how much it costs to go to Camp Waziyatah today.
Well, just real quick, Jackson, Louisiana is sort of just north of Baton Rouge, and Camp Hartner is in Pollock, Louisiana, which is near Alexandria. Okay, so those are not the same, but yeah, so I knew all the people that went to Camp Hartner, but the camp you went to was probably maybe like the Baptist camp or something.
I mean, it had bunks and it had trails and very it looked like a camp. I mean, it looked, and especially the one I went to when I was in middle school, the one in Florida, that was like a summer camp that we just rented out. Obviously, the church probably just rented for a week. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I always wanted to go to regular camp that was like 3, 4, 6 weeks long, however they are. Different camps have different lengths of their sessions. But yeah, I always wanted to, but never got to. And when I got older, I was like, oh, I'm going to become a camp counselor when I get older, and that just never happened. I always wanted to be a CIT and then a camp counselor. I always wanted to do that.
All right, so do you want to know how much camp is?
Or did you do Camp Waziyatah?
No, I
did. Or just camp in general?
I did Camp Hartner.
Okay.
Because that's just the one closest to us.
Gotcha.
It is approximately, and this has been for almost a decade. They've set the rate since 2016. It's $100 per person per day, but the Episcopal Church does help subsidize it. So they do take donations to help afford like any child in the Episcopal Church to be able to go. And so a lot of families don't end up having to pay because scholarship. So if you are financially able, obviously you would pay the $100 per day. So like $700 a week, which actually, I mean, is not bad. I mean, you know, $700 is a lot for a kid, but I mean, for what you get out of it, I mean, I think that's pretty decent.
You want to know how much a 4-week session is at Camp Waziyatah?
$1,500.
Much more than that.
How much?
If you want to go for 4 weeks, it is $8,450.
Okay, so my $700 at Camp Partner is nothing, and it's subsidized.
And the full, if you want to do a full 8-week session, it is $13,150.
Oh my gosh! Yep. Wow!
And even as a CIT, you get a $100, you get $1,000 discount, $7,450. Yep. So. Yes. Well, I'd rather go to Camp Partner.
I mean, that's only a week. They have like several sessions to give more kids the opportunity, which I actually like because, cool. I mean, my parents could have never afforded that. I mean, back in the 80s, maybe it was like half of that. My parents still couldn't have afforded that. But if I think back, I'm not Episcopal, but, you know, I mean, my parents maybe could have afforded, you know, $200 for me to go to camp for a week. Yeah. Maybe. But yeah. Anywho, interesting about how expensive Camp Waziyatah is.
Yeah. So Counselor Rhett explains that the first day of camp is a mixed bag of emotions. You have the returning campers who are ready to pick up where they left off last year and immediately go find their friends, while the first year campers are nervous, shy, keep to themselves because they don't know what to expect. The first camper to arrive at Hill 4 is 14-year-old Jenny. Shout out to my boo. Jenny was born in Honduras, but was raised in Burlington, Vermont. I love that she pointed that out. It made me think of my boo. She tells Luna and Annie that this is her 4th year at Wazi, and she knows a few other girls in their cabin. Jenny is then introduced to Luna's dog, Geffen. Jenny assures Luna that she loves dogs and has 3 at home. 14-year-old Stephanie from the Detroit suburbs arrives and is thrilled to see Jenny, who was one of her besties last summer. At the same time, 13-year-old Philadelphia native Sarah arrives and is the exact opposite of Stephanie. It's her first year at Wazi, and she is so soft-spoken you can barely hear her when she speaks. She begins to unpack when Luna notices she seems a bit shaken. Geffen is sitting next to her, and Sarah reveals that she is scared of dogs. Luna feels awful and keeps apologizing, but then Sarah admits later on that she's scared of dogs, but then says Geffen is a nice dog. Geffen decides to hang out under Sarah's bed the entire time she unpacks, which still as an adult was kind of funny to watch because dogs just know. They're like, you're going to love me. You're going to love me at some point.
Yes, you're going to get there.
More campers have begun to arrive. 14-year-old Andrew from Maine arrives with his mother. This is Andrew's first year at Wazi, but he's been to other camps in the past. He admits that he's had problems with being homesick, but says that he must get over it because once you go off to college, that's it. You have to be on your own. All right, 12-year-old Asa, also from Maine, arrives. Morgan mispronounces his name. I always thought that was funny. And
Asa.
And it was still funny this time. I'm sure he got it his whole life. I'm sure he got called Asa his whole life. Poor kid. Asa is a returning camper, but realizes he is the youngest in the cabin. That will become more important kind of later in the season.
Okay.
He'll kind of have difficulty connecting with the other campers because they're all 13, 14, 15 years old. He's prepubescent. They're all
and he's a little husky?
He's a little husky. Yeah. 13-year-old Allison from Newton, Massachusetts arrives at Hill 4. Even though she is a returning camper, she admits to having first-day jitters, but then she says she'll be okay because Wazi is very familiar to her. First-year camper Caitlin from Cohasset, Massachusetts is the last to arrive. Okay, so I had a difficulty finding a way to ask this question, so I'm going to do what I do, and I'm just going to tell you where this thought came from. So when we watched the first episode of Bug Juice, we kind of watched it. I think the next day you went out of town.
Yeah.
I think you left the next day or maybe the day after. So I went and I decided to, when I started typing up stuff, I was reminded of season 3. I kind of went back and watched season 3. And I watched some episodes. I was fully expecting this to just be Cringe City 1997, but I was just like, not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be, not nearly as cringy as I thought it was going to be.
Oh no, it was cute.
I think I would argue that like a lot of the scripted shows from back in the 70s and 80s that we've watched in the past were much cringier. Not all of them, but some of them. I would say Rags to Riches was pretty cringy, although I love it. But anyway, so I kind of noticed something that was more, I don't know if they ever really went over it in season 1 or if it was a part of the storyline in season 1 of Bug Juice, but I know it was definitely in season 2 and 3. And it was usually the girls. That's not saying that this is a girl thing, because it's not, because I've experienced it too, but they always seem to focus on that with the girls, where there would be these two friends from home that would come to camp together. And, 13, 14, 15, you're changing, you're going through one of the biggest changes you're ever going to go through. You're starting puberty, you're becoming an adult, you're starting to think about things that you don't normally think about. You're going to all of a sudden become obsessed with boys and girls and having a boyfriend and being popular and being pretty and being hot and wearing cologne and wearing perfume. We all went through it. Most of us did. But a thing that I've always noticed is that there's always a pair of friends that come to camp together, and then they kind of realize while they're at camp together that they're kind of like, it's kind of the thing with good boys where it's like they're friends kind of out of convenience. Like, they're friends because they've just known each other since they were 5, and there's been no other thing.
They've lived on the same block their whole life.
Their parents are friends, whatever it may be. So they kind of have always hung out, but then when they're around other kids from other places, they realize how different they are. And so it kind of becomes this thing where it's like they start kind of separating. And then, because there were times on Bug Juice where they would have these two kids that would come to camp together, and they'd be like, yeah, we're friends from back home. And then you would just never see them hanging out. Like, you would just never see them one would go this way, one would go that way. But I'm sure they left and were still friends, but it probably wasn't the same. So we've all kind of experienced as adults, remembering as kids, I remember kind of the era where I would have these 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, where I have these people that were my best friends. They were my best friends in the whole wide world. And then the next year we would be in a different class. I would literally never talk to them again. It would just be like one of those, not in like a cold way, but just, you're not in my class anymore. So it's just like, I'm never going to see you again. I mean, that's kind of how it is, especially when you're in elementary school. And it is such a, I am reminded, we both were when I brought this up, that it's kind of like the thing from Stand By Me. When you're that age, friends come in and out of your lives like busboys in a restaurant. That's just kind of how it is. One day, they're your best friends. 6 months later, they're just another face in the hall, like Gordy said. So my question for you is, when was the first time you realized that the friends that you have as a kid aren't going to be your friends forever?
My first one...
And before we go, I know that you're a special circumstance because you're a New Orleans girl and y'all all stay friends forever. But I'm sure that some have fallen...
Oh, for sure.
Some fallen
probably
comrades.
My first main one, and kind of the scenario we just said about because you lived near one another. So keep in mind, on my block, really there were no kids my age. I am 10 years apart from my brother, about 6.5, 7 years apart from my sister. And most of the kids in the neighborhood were around their ages.
Okay.
And so it was like all of them. There was one girl, her name was Renee. She lived like maybe 3 houses down on the corner. And then there was another girl that lived around the block that moved in, I think when I was around in 3rd grade. So, and she was a year younger than me. So she was in like 2nd grade, and her name was Amy Schuler. Aww. And she had a little brother named Nathan. So if by any weird chance y'all are listening, she's not on Facebook or anything. I actually tracked her brother down and like messaged with his wife, but she would never give me Amy's information. She's in Texas. But we were like thick as thieves. I mean, especially me and Amy. Renee's parents were really strict and barely ever let her play, but she would play like Barbies with us every now and then. But me and Amy were like really tight. Elementary school, then we were in sort of like middle elementary school, 5th and 6th grade together. And then when I went to high school and she was still in 8th grade, her mom, and this was crazy because like I just thought her mom was so glamorous. She was like the store manager of like a Woolworths.
Nice.
And then she became like a store manager of the JC Penney in the mall.
Whoa.
Yeah, so she, and so again, mind you, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so I really admired her mom. She was working, she would dress up, she wore heels to work.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not anything against my mom because I love my mom being at home. It's why I likely never wanted to be at home, but I just remember her mom, I felt was so glamorous, and her mom ended up getting like a major promotion with JC Penney's to be like a regional manager in like Portland, Oregon.
Gotcha.
And so after the summer of I think 8th grade, and I was going into 10th grade, she would have been going to high school. She was moving, and so she didn't go to high school in New Orleans. She left to go to start high school in Portland. And that summer of 1984, I'm trying to think of what I did that summer. I might have gone to like Ecuador. I don't remember. But anyway, I just remember her packing up her room, and I just kept thinking like, oh, we're going to keep in touch. We're going to write letters. We'll call each other. And of course, this was before cell phones or anything like that. And you had to pay for long distance calls. I don't know how I thought I would pay for these calls. I was like 14. And I just remember she was dating this guy that she had met from skate country in 8th grade. And he was there the day she was packing up to move. And he was a little bit older. And I just remember him talking like, oh, yeah, I'm going to drive up to Portland. I'm like, you're going to drive up to Portland? I'm like, that's like 10 states away.
Yeah,
what are you talking
it's
about?
A lot of states.
Like, yeah, I'm like, you're in like 10th grade. All right. Or junior year.
Chill
or whatever.
out.
Yeah. And so, it was just... And I will quite literally say that was like the last time I saw her.
Mm-hmm.
Craziness. When I moved back from Seattle to live here, and again, by the point I was in Seattle, she was gone from Portland. I think I knew she was in Texas somehow.
Gotcha.
She had a cousin named Brandy, and I was at a Saints game because I was a Saints season ticket holder. And I was walking around, and this girl stopped me, and she's like, "Are you Missy?" And I was like, "Yeah," because like not a lot of people know me as Missy. Really, only people in the neighborhood knew me as Missy because that's what my family calls me.
Right.
And I looked at her, and I was like, yeah." And she's like, "It's Brandy, Amy's cousin." And I was just like, oh my God. I would have never recognized her. I couldn't have picked her out of a lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, if she had a name tag that said Brandy on it. And I was just like,
Brandy,
oh my God.
Brandy, Amy's cousin.
Exactly. I was just like, oh my God. And I was like, where is Amy? And I said, I've always wondered what happened to her. And so mind you, I mean, this is like in 2006.
Yeah.
So this is like 40 plus years from when I last saw her. And so, it was just craziness. And like I said, I tracked down her brother, and his wife was on Facebook. I friended her and actually messaged with her sister-in-law.
Okay.
I did ask for her phone number. I actually was like, I'll give you mine if you give it to her. And she's like, no, I don't want to get involved. And I'm like, I'm not a psychopath, I promise. I'm like, I'm offering my number,
right.
And so that was the one. And I mean, we played Charlie's Angels, we played Barbies, we played Monopoly and Life. And she was just that one friend in the neighborhood who I always thought I would be friends with. And for me, it was truly like lack of communication ability.
Right.
I mean, how many, like how
lack of technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, what about you?
So you had the privilege and luxury of living in the same house all your life.
Yes.
As your entire childhood and adolescence.
through law school until like my mom passed away.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, that was your that was
60 plus years.
Your childhood home. You never lost it.
Yes.
Technically.
Correct.
Until your mom passed away. And so, but it was different. I know I just took the last of it. I'm sorry. And I took your water bottle away. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. It was going to knock over and get
Give
stuff wet.
me some liquor. No, I'm just kidding.
You just open up a bottle of
just
liqueur.
start drinking on it.
I mean, the liquor's supply is literally right behind me. Okay, so I need to focus. All right.
Focus.
So
calm down.
I need to calm down. Everything's fine. I'm an adult. All right. So when my parents got divorced when I was in 4th grade. Up until then, I had been living in my same house that I'd always lived in from the time I was born, in Central. And I've talked about this on the pod before. Like I had, up until then, it had nothing to do with where I lived up until I was in 4th grade. I had like the best childhood. I mean, like there were so many kids in my neighborhood. They were all around my age. We had a baseball field in our neighborhood, like a sandlot baseball field in our neighborhood. We all had we all pretty much all had big backyards. And it was like I had a pasture on one side. I had woods on the other end of the street. Like I had such a fun childhood. And when my mom told me that we were moving, I was absolutely devastated because these were the only friends that I had ever had, other than like friends that I had at school. But those didn't feel like real friends. My neighborhood friends felt like my real friends.
Right.
And so
So did your neighborhood friends not all go? Y'all all went to the same school?
I think we all went to Bellingrath. I think Michael was the only one that went to St. Alphonsus. I'm pretty sure.
I figured there's usually
And I'm pretty sure everyone else went to Bellingrath, or they went to Central Private, or they went to Central Middle, if they had graduated from elementary school. But we all kind of went to the same school. The bus stop was at the corner. I've showed you where my house was, like where the little intersection where the streets are, where my house is. That's where our bus stop was, and there was like 20 of us, and it was all ranging in age. And
I also think that's a big thing that schools do now.
They're all at the end of their driveway now,
Yeah.
and that has to drive the bus driver insane.
They stop.
Pay your bus drivers.
Stop at every driveway.
Tip your bus drivers. So when my mom was like, because I had gone to another school in 4th grade, I'd gone to another school that was in Baton Rouge. My parents had gotten divorced, and I think my mom just wanted to get the hell out of Central. I don't blame her. But as a kid, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. I was like, these are supposed to be my friends forever, and there is still a timeline where we never moved, and those stayed my best friends because later on I connected with them, and they were all still best friends, and I was not a part of it anymore. Some of them didn't even remember me, so it was a little devastating.
Aww.
But so I had 2 best friends. I had Michael that lived next door, and we stayed friends until we were like in our 20s. And then I had Dwight, who lived at the end of the street. He was like my other best friend. And I just remember like being like, it doesn't matter if I move. We're going to be best friends forever. We're going to be best friends forever. And then that summer, so that I guess our house sold in Central before our new house was ready. So we had to live in these apartments over the summer. And I was lucky enough in the apartment complex that there were also a bunch of kids that were all around my age. One of which I used to go to Bellingrath with, and it was just this really weird coincidence. And I don't know where she is now, obviously, but like, it was just a really weird coincidence. So I immediately got friends in the apartment, and it was really funny because I remember going home and going to the apartment and my mom being like, "Oh, Dwight called, call him back." And it was like, I had been gone for 10 years. It felt like, and it had only been like probably like a month or something like that. Cause we were young, and also it was just really weird. And I didn't know that that's what that was like, just growing up and you're moving on from your friends. I didn't realize that's what it was until I saw Stand By Me and I heard that quote. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, you're not just going to be, these aren't always going to be your friends.
Right.
And I think because I went from Parkview Then I went from Bellingrath to Parkview to Woodlawn. I became very adjusted to that idea that I wasn't going to have these friends forever. But it was still kind of really sad that, like, I remember Dwight coming to my birthday party in 5th grade. I'd already moved into my new house. I had all these friends from my new school, and I had all these neighborhood friends. And I remember him coming over, and thinking about it now, it's, like, really sad. But, like, I don't think I, like,
treated him differently,
interacted with him, or, like, I think he felt left out. I don't know. He comes up to Georgia sometimes. We still know each other, so we're friends on Facebook. So, I mean, like, we're good. But, I mean, like, you know, I think as a kid, I didn't think about it. But thinking about it now, like, I think after that, we didn't really hang out anymore. And
I also think another dynamic, and you bring up school, and you moved. Yeah. I never moved. I also think about the people that you were really just friends with at school only. And then when they move and you have no idea what happened to them.
Yep.
Like, I knew a couple of people like that. Like, there was a girl named Stephanie, and I was just like, I wonder whatever happened to Stephanie DeLatte.
Yeah.
Stephanie DeLatte, if you were listening to this, she lived in like a few subdivisions over. So that was like another thing, was you could have gone to school with people but in New Orleans, but if you didn't live near them in that area, you didn't really hang out with them too much. Like, Jennifer might have been my exception because she was like my best friend since kindergarten. But like, Stephanie lived in Jennifer's subdivision, but she was only at our school for like 2 years. I remember in like 4th grade, I was expecting to see Stephanie in one of the classes or on the playground. And I was like, I wonder what happened to Stephanie. And they were like, she probably moved. And I'm like, people move?
Yeah.
I was like, what?
People leave their home.
People leave this city? That's you know, it was crazy what you think about when you're like 8 or 9.
Yeah, because especially when I went to Parkview, it was a private school, and so there wasn't a district. We all just were from different areas. Even people that didn't live in Baton Rouge, there were people that lived in like New Roads and other places, like not far away, but like, you know, a little bit of a drive. And if they went to another school the next year, there's so many kids, I have no idea what happened to them. Like, and I remember when I repeated 7th grade, and I was like, I had to be the new kid again at a school that I was already at because I repeated 7th grade. I had this new kid feeling. I became really good friends with this guy named Ryan Porter. You're not listening to this, but wherever you are, I always wondered what happened to you, because he became my best friend that year, and then he moved to Texas. And they were going to have a going away party for him, and then they ended up not doing it. And so I never saw him again. So it just, I mean, we had Instant Messenger and stuff, but that wasn't like
what you used, really.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I don't know if there was an exact point where I realized that's what was going to happen, or I wasn't going to have these friends forever, but I definitely kind of, it occurred to me at some point in like 12 or 13 years old, where I was like, oh, these aren't going to be my friends forever. And then I kept having to learn that lesson, and it never got less depressing. Like, I was never like okay with it. I think I maybe became okay with it more when I was in high school, and people would drop out, or they would get expelled, or they would, you know, like go to another school. And I just was like, that's just how life works. I think by then I was like, that's just how life works, and it's okay. But I remember the first time when my mom told me we had to move, I was like, my life is over. I'm never gonna have friends again. It was like, because you know how I am. You're
a little dramatic.
I'm a very dramatic person. I can't even describe how much more emotional and dramatic I was when I was young and a preteen and a teenager. I've calmed down so much since then, but back then I was a lot more high strung. All right. Back to Bug Juice. The campers all introduced themselves to each other and began conversing. The girls' cabin seems to be a bit more divided between first-year campers and returning ones, while the boys' cabin immediately hit it off and get along as a whole. So it's interesting that they edited it to kind of look that way when that wasn't maybe the full truth, according to Everett. The boys meet their head counselor, Peanut, best nickname ever. He goes over the ground rules with the boys. Girls are not allowed on the steps or inside the cabins. No profanity, particularly around the girls. I'm assuming there are more rules, but those are the only ones we heard. I'm assuming there's no like weapons or smoking or alcohol or drugs.
Well, I hope not.
No fire. Don't set anything on fire. The entire camp attends the first campfire of the summer. Peter and Penny, the camp owners, give their first speech of the summer. Luna says that just about every camp you go to will have an opening and closing campfire. The opening campfire is also a way for the counselors to all introduce themselves. They close out the campfire by singing songs, which I think is a pretty classic camp thing. We are then introduced to the nightly huddle up. This is a way for the groups to converse and air out anything they need to. So this is like within the cabin. This is like every night they'll kind of get together and maybe they'll air out their issues with each other, or they'll talk about something that they maybe accomplished that day. It really just ended up becoming, I have a problem with this camper, I have a problem with that camper. That's really what it ended up becoming.
You took my boyfriend.
Hey, it comes up more. That comes up more than once.
I know. I have a feeling. I'm a girl.
And there is one girl who has the same issue with two different girls and two different boys in two different sessions. So that's just, you're girl boy crazy at that age. We are then, this is Rhett says that he refuses to let pet peeves or petty things in general get in the way of the cabin bonding with each other. Hassan admits that his biggest pet peeve is when guys don't lift the toilet seat up when they go to the bathroom. Yeah, don't be pee-peeing on that seat, boy. And you better put it back down I guess it's all boys. It doesn't matter. Over at the girls' cabin, Luna decided that they will make their own set of rules within the cabin. Sarah says, "Don't be cliquey," and the other girls agree. Luna and Annie they're not depressed. They're impressed that the girls all agree to this rule. Luna admits that she's had issues in the past with girls being cliquey. Jenny says she hopes they stick with it because last year was really bad, implying that the cabin she was in last year was really divided. They then play the toilet paper game. Each girl takes any amount of toilet paper they want, and with each piece they have to say something about each other.
This is so funny.
So it's also kind of funny that all the girls took various. I think Allison took like a third of the roll. Yes. And then Caitlin took like a little dot. Yeah, my name's Caitlin.
Yeah, that was it.
So just some of the things. Megan says she loves lox on bagels. Lox, is that salmon?
That's salmon.
Yeah.
Raw salmon.
Gross, Megan. Just kidding.
Well, she's probably from New York.
Yeah, she's from Manhattan. I remember her saying that. Stephanie says she loves to water ski. Keisha admits that she always seems to get herself in trouble. Jenny admits that she is boy crazy and already has a crush on someone. When she confesses it's Hassan in Grove 4, Keisha immediately interjects, saying she likes him too. This sparks the first confrontation of the season. Jenny very confidently says she'll get him. You gasped at that. You were like, "Dang, girl, you got some metal on you." Back at the boys' cabin, it's clear that they are all getting along. John says that the moment they all got together, he could tell they were going to be brothers. Connor says he likes all the guys in the cabin. Andy says he has a feeling this will be a great summer. End of episode. All right, so you tell me, what did you think of Bug Juice?
I actually really liked it because I think I always wanted to go to summer camp. Yeah. I know I obviously watched movies like Parent Trap,
Meatballs.
Little Darlings, Meatballs. I also read about camps and boarding schools in like magazines.
I was obsessed with boarding schools when I was a kid.
I always craved the concept of going away. And so watching this, obviously this came out when I was in my late 20s, so if I had watched it then, I wouldn't have been craving, but I could definitely see how if you were this age, you would be like, "Oh my God, I would want to go to this summer camp." Yeah, for sure. Because it is, I can see all of this stuff happening, like the boys fighting, the girls fighting, and the rules, and I like this boy. And when you told me which boy it was, I was like, really? That's the one they're fighting over?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how it is. Yeah. But yeah, so another thing that I loved about Bug Juice, and we had other questions, but since we're doing reality TV, we can ask these other questions because they apply to other reality shows. I'll just make a mental note of it. One thing I really loved about Bug Juice, and what I loved about it as a kid, and even watching it as an adult, I really enjoy, like, Malik. Malik is from Brooklyn. He's never been outside of the city before. This is his first time in the woods. He's never touched a horse. He's never been in the water before. And the whole summer, he is determined to learn how to swim and to learn how to water ski. And that is like his goal. Like, he just wants, and so in the second session, he finally passes his swim test, and he gets up on water skis on his first try.
Aww.
And Rhett was there. Rhett was recording it on the camcorder, and he was crying. Like, and I remember, like, my dad watching it with me and just being like, you know, my dad's like, you know, my dad's a smart ass. Apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. But yeah, I remember even he was like, that's nice. You know, he was just like, that's a nice moment.
Oh, Lloyd.
Very sweet. And then I was watching season 3, and it was kind of the same. I got that same, like, kind of feel-good vibe of just, like, these kids are experiencing things for the first time. What I loved about season 1 versus kind of the other two, season 1 were a lot of, like, city kids. It was a lot of Detroit, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York. The next 2 seasons, well, season 2 especially, it was all kind of like suburb kids. A lot of them knew each other because the people that owned the camp also owned this private school in Florida. So all these kids got like discounted rates. And so all these kids from Florida would go to this camp. So like a lot of them already kind of knew each other. There really wasn't a lot of like conflict. But then season 3, it was kind of a mix of like kind of the same as season 1, but like season 3 has like, I was watching it when you were out of town. That season has so much freaking drama, like middle school drama. And I was all for it because it mattered so much when you were 13.
Oh, of course.
Everything was so heightened back then. And I think that's also what I love so much about watching it. Cause I'm just like, I remember getting so upset about the dumbest stuff, thinking about it now, but it seems so important at the time. I love it. You know what? I love Bug Juice. I'll keep watching it.
I would watch more episodes of it.
Well, because you were already asking me questions about Connor and Hassan and Sarah and Stephanie and Keisha and Jenny.
I want to know. I need to know what happens.
And yeah, and you were even like, is there like a clip of what's to come on the season? I'm like, yeah, there is. And you like watched it and you were like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, really cute. So unfortunately, I can't tell you to go watch it because it's hard to find. DVDtreasures.org. If whoever runs that site, I'm doing some promo work for you.
There you go.
I'd ask you to sponsor us, but I don't think you would want to. But he also has a lot of other whoever they are on DVDtreasures.org. They also have a lot of just random shows that maybe aren't available on DVD or on streaming. That, you know, mostly from the 80s and 90s and 2000s, that's where I got a lot of my Real World and Road Rules and Challenge DVDs before streaming, before I knew about torrenting, and before I knew about downloading. And you torrented? We got them, boys. But yeah, so go on DVDtreasures.org. You can download them now. You used to, that's available now, which is really cool. You don't have to wait for it in the mail like I had to. But yeah, it's super cute. And if you were a millennial and you remember this show, it's $30. Like, I know that's a lot for some people, but
not for 3 seasons of a show.
Right.
I mean, shoot, going to the movies practically costs that much these days.
$30 for 60 episodes. Think of it like that. Think of it $2 per episode. All right. Like I said, we had other questions, but I knew this episode was going to run long, so I wasn't even going to pretend like it wasn't going to. I knew we were going to get Gabby. All right. You think that wraps this one up?
Yeah.
First episode of Jeff Month is
on the pod in the recording.
Yeah. Another one is done.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm tired, and we've both have had a long day, and my brain literally just stopped for a second. All right, it's time to get in bed. All right, well, that about wraps up this episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on. That way you'll be notified every time we publish a new episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at WeJudgePilotPod. We're also on Facebook. You can leave us a comment, suggest a show for us to watch, or leave some emojis in the comments. What you got?
I have a bunch. I have the tent, trees, the bug, the juice, any of the plants, swimming, water skiing, the bus, the plane, the U.S. flag. What is NV?
NV.
The letters N.
RV?
No, NV. Oh, New York, NY.
Oh.
Like the Statue of Liberty.
Because we're,
the puppy for Geffen, beds, the TV, the moon for Luna. Any of the various emojis showing any kind of emotion, sad, nervous, scared.
That's what being a teenager is.
The peanut, toilet paper, the campfire, any of the musical ones, the toilet seat, and the bagel.
Good one.
All right. Well, we are going to head out, but we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.